On Tuesday evening, President Donald Trump spoke with the family of a U.S. soldier killed in the African country of Niger earlier this month. Sergeant David T. Johnston's mother claims the president disrespected her family, saying in the conversation that the president said he knew what he signed up for. Florida Congresswoman Frederica Wilson was present during some of the call and claims the president was insensitive, among other things. The administration came out hard today at the press conference criticizing the politicalization of the death of an American soldier.
I think that the sentiment of the president was very clear. He took the time to make a call to express his condolences, to thank the family for this individual's service. And I think it frankly is a disgrace of the media to try to portray an act of kindness like that and that gesture and to try to make it into something that it isn't.
The White House also referred to General John Kelly's disgust at the media for running with the Congresswoman's side of the story.
I think that General Kelly is disgusted by the way that this has been politicized and that the focus has become on the process and not the fact that American lives were lost. I think he's disgusted and frustrated by that. And if he has any anger, it's towards that.
For more on this, let's turn to our political panel tonight. We've got with us Mitch Caesar, former Democratic Party chair in Florida, and also AmyTarkanian, former Nevada GOP chair. Great to have both of you with us tonight. I think a lot of Americans are sitting out there tonight thinking, how in the world did this call go wrong? How do you call a bereaving widow and family and somehow it not come off right? And I want your take on it. Amy, you first tonight. What do you make of this?
Well, first of all, I don't know. I mean, I wasn't on the call. Were you on the call? Was your other guest on the call? You know, we can only go off of what Sarah Sanders actually told us, and the fact that we know that General Kelly was in the room when the call was made and he approved of the call. We have to go with that.
You know, Amy, you bring up an interesting point. I want to say you bring up a very interesting point. He knew what he signed up for. That seems to be the only comment that's coming out of this conversation. I mean, the Congresswoman from Florida is not saying that the president said, well, I feel sorry for your loss, or I'm very sad, or thank you for...
Right, and was she on that call? That wasn't even her call.
Well,
that was her friend's call.
I just think it's interesting or curious that that's the only piece of the conversation that we're getting reported. What do you make of that?
Well, I think it's really important that we don't take things out of context. Just like with General Kelly's frustration, I too am frustrated. You know, that can be taken so many different ways. Yes, when you do sign up to go into the Army or into the Navy or whatever area it may be, you do know what you're signing up for, and you do know that you could be going into harm's way. And it is sad, and it is very upsetting when you do lose a life, and we all grieve differently. But we do know that this Congresswoman, unfortunately, has never been on the side of POTUS, and for her to actually divulge even that one sentence, if that sentence were told correctly, that's not her conversation to actually be sharing.
The president pushed back on Twitter this morning, and he also pushed back in a short press briefing in the conference room. Here's what he had to say about his side of the story.
I had a very nice conversation with the woman, with the wife, who sounded like a lovely woman, did not say what the Congresswoman said, and most people aren't too surprised to hear that.
Caesar, how do you unpack this?
Well, the way I unpack it is, first of all, I know Frederica Wilson very well, and I find her to be truthful. Yes, she's a partisan, but there are multiple other people in that vehicle, including an aunt, an uncle, the mother of the deceased, the mother-in-law, I believe, of the deceased, and it's been confirmed that those words were accurate. They show, and the problem is that President Trump has a bad history of showing lack of empathy. There were confirmation by other people, specifically the mother of the deceased, who said he simply was without empathy and perhaps he should just write letters and not make phone calls. I have to tell you, as a South Floridian, this was a big deal, meaning his body coming back here before this story broke. It was live, shown the car on the interstate going to the airport to meet the body before this part of the story broke.
Is the Congresswoman playing politics here, though, Mitch? I mean, do you think that she's going overboard?
I don't believe so. Okay. Specifically because there were other people that confirmed it.
Amy, you do?
Has a bad history in this.
Yes, absolutely I do. And I actually come from a city, unfortunately, who just went through one of the worst mass shootings in the United States history. And when the president visited here, he definitely showed empathy, and our city was grateful. So everyone grieves differently with loss. I understand that. And people sometimes are angry, sometimes they're confused. You know what? I'm not exactly sure how this particular family is dealing with it, but I do know that this Congresswoman has never been a fan of the president.
John Kelly, who lost a son in combat, Chief of Staff, Mitch, said that the call was appropriate. What do you make of that?
Well, I think that it's interesting. John Kelly's been very silent. I think he felt the confidence was broken. We do know that President Trump attacked prior presidents incorrectly about how they've dealt with deaths. AP broke a story today specifically of some of the folks who passed away during a Trump presidency. Two different families said they've never been contacted either by mail or by phone.
Yeah.
A third family said just by mail. You know, I'll harken back to something the previous speaker just spoke to. I'll match your Las Vegas with a Puerto Rico, where he had a press conference and specifically said, hey, you didn't lose that many people, not that many people died. And then another time in Puerto Rico, he said, all right, everybody have a good time now. This guy there's a disconnect emotionally.
All right, points well taken by both of you tonight. Mitch Caesar, Amy Tarkanian, thank you so much for joining us on this evening.